Every time Draymond got a stop, he would puff out his chest. The Warriors were very emotionally in this game. And that has always been the Warriors' path to victory and path to dominating opponents. It has been defense, get us stops, get steals, get us out in transition, get a defensive rebound, feed Steph up the floor in a frenzy. Defense does not know what the hell to do. We're going to get easy buckets that way. And then once the ball starts rolling and the crowd gets into it, if you're here at home, there is not much that can stop that kind of Warrior run. And that's what it felt like in quarter, really in the second quarter, when the Warriors immediately got out to a 7-0 run. They won that quarter 32-16, and then it felt again that way, like late third and leading into the fourth. And Oracle Arena, wow, going back to old times. Chase Center really was into this game. You also have to credit the Warriors for the energy that they brought in this game. I mentioned the energy defensively in the first quarter was not great. Jokic was getting absolutely everything he wanted, specifically in the paint. And Denver as a whole was getting anything that they wanted. The Warriors were not staying in front of cutters. They were kind of caught ball watching at times. Jokic had a crazy no-look over-the-head pass where he throws it backwards to a cutter who had an easy layup. Jokic is great, and he's going to make you look foolish at times. But it was bad Warrior defense in the first quarter. And then, honestly, the offense in the first quarter didn't look like slow or sluggish or like they were tired or exhausted from a back-to-back at the tail end of a long 2-week road trip. But then it was both ends starting in the second quarter, and the Warriors absolutely ran away with that one. Again, it was 44-34 Denver after one, and then in the final three quarters, 84-60 Warriors. Steph Curry was absolutely amazing in this game. He had 36 points. He made 7 more threes. He was 13 for 24 from the field. He was amazing. He was into this game from the jump. I can't really count the number of times that he I don't mean over celebrated as in celebrated too much for what the moment called for, but like Curry will make a three, and he makes so many of them. He's made over 4,000 in his career that normally he doesn't like do anything extra other than just like run back up the court. There was a lot of times where he did like the extra pound his chest or shimmy or look to the crowd and try to get them on their feet. Like that happened at least 5 or 6 times tonight. The Warriors were in this game mentally and emotionally. You could tell. It was the same thing for Draymond on the other end of the floor. Draymond Green, defensively, I mean, this was just a joy to watch. The first quarter was ugly, but specifically quarters 2, 3, and 4. Every time Draymond got a stop, he would puff out his chest, right? He would go up to the Warriors bench. He'd dap up Guy Santos on the bench. He'd dap up Quentin Post on the bench. Whoever was on the bench, he'd dap him up. He'd scream at the crowd. He'd point at whoever he just locked down. He would like laugh at Russell Westbrook after he forced a turnover and Russ dribbled it off his foot and it went out of bounds. The Warriors were very emotionally in this game from the beginning. And honestly, watching this game, I had a hard time coming to terms with the path that each of these two teams had been on to get to this game. The Warriors off of a 2-week-long road trip that was emotional as hell for a number of different reasons. They began it with the emotional low of getting absolutely plastered and blown out in Atlanta. You say you're going to get up emotionally for Jimmy Butler's return to Miami, and you fall incredibly short. Steph isn't playing in either of those games. You have a really slow start in New Orleans, one of the worst teams in the league. You come back and ultimately win that game. Then you get to the emotional high of absolutely shooting the lights out of the ball in San Antonio. You dominate that game. You have always an emotional game in Memphis. Steph goes for 52, makes 12 threes. You're thinking, how can he possibly top that? Then you go to LA. At the end of that trip, you outduel LeBron and Luka. You win that game. You climb up to 5 in the standings. You're within a half game or a game of the Lakers, and you can sniff Denver, and then you return home on a back-to-back, and you have to strap them on again. and you're wondering how much energy does this Warrior team have left. It's not just the number of games that they've played. They've now played 3 games in 4 nights, and they're against really good teams. Memphis, although they are falling down a little bit of late, at that point, they were the 5th seed in the West. Then you play the Lakers, the 4 seed in the West. Then you play the Nuggets, the 3 seed in the West. How do the Warriors have the energy for this game? That's what you come into this game thinking. And then you have Denver. Denver, they played on Tuesday, the night the Warriors were in Memphis. They played at home against Minnesota on Tuesday. They went to double overtime, and they lost that game. Russell Westbrook, with some incredibly wild decisions down the stretch in that game, costs the Nuggets a really important win, which also would have helped the Warriors because it would have given them a little bit of breathing room with Minnesota, who's right behind them in the Western standings. Although that Denver loss makes the Warriors climbing past Denver for the 4 seed that much more possible now. The Warriors are only a half game behind Denver, who currently are now back down to the 4 because the Lakers won and Denver lost. Lakers are back up to 3. Denver's back down to 4. So maybe that loss and that Russell Westbrook implosion ultimately ends up helping the Warriors. That's where Denver was on Tuesday. Okay, emotional loss. They had a back-to-back versus San Antonio. They decided to rest all of their key players. Jokic didn't play. Jamal Murray didn't play. Right? All these guys did not play. So they're rested, getting ready for this Warrior game on Friday. That's the path that Denver took to get this game. And Denver looked like the older team. Denver looked like the sluggish team. Denver looked like the tired team. Denver looked like the exhausted team. Meanwhile, the Warriors should be all those things. Denver has no reason to be any of those things. The Warriors ran laps around the Nuggets in this basketball game. And it was pretty incredible to see. The Warriors were more into this game emotionally. They were more into this game physically. They were more into this game just energy and effort-wise, specifically after quarter number 1. And there is absolutely no reason other than this is a Warrior team led by superhuman figures. And this is a Denver team who, in my estimation, doesn't really have the feel of a team going into the postseason on the right note. They've now lost 3 consecutive games, and they are plummeting down the Western Conference standings. There was a time recently when it looked like they might be able to catch Houston for the 2 seed. Now they might be staring at being the 5. The Warriors are only a half game behind Denver. Now Denver has the tiebreaker. Even after what happened tonight, Denver has the tiebreaker over the Warriors, so the Warriors have to be a full game better than than Denver at the end of the regular season. And there's only 5 games left for the Warriors, 4 games left for Denver. So let's assume the Warriors win that extra game and they're tied. The Warriors would have to go 4-0 and Denver would have to go 3-1. All right, let's 5-0 for the Warriors, 3-1 for Denver. 4-1 for the Warriors, 3-2 or 2-2 for Denver. That's the way in which it would have to happen. So it's possible. Certainly possible, and I'll take a look at the Denver schedule the rest of the way before we get out of here tonight. But there is no way that the Warriors should have been the team that came in with the higher desire level. And that's what it was. And it was from the jump. And maybe the Warriors had to kind of manufacture that themselves. Because, again, there was the Draymond energy, the Draymond playing to the crowd, the Draymond banging on his chest every time he got a stop. And that's classic Draymond, but it was more often and more pronounced than usual. Also, it was Draymond. You could tell that he is really, really, really begging. Not begging is the wrong word. Really campaigning for the DPOY, Defensive Player of the Year. He's going to win it. You can lock it up. It's like all but over. Draymond Green is going to win the Defensive Player of the Year. He again made some amazing defensive plays in this game. So many people out there, and this is why I think Draymond only has 1 Defensive Player of the Year to his name so far in his career, which is absolutely absurd. Draymond is one of the best defenders this game has ever seen. You just look at the stats of 1, Draymond, how many blocks and steals does he have? And then you look at the stats of who his, supposed matchup is. And Jokic was his general matchup today. Jokic scored 33, had 12 rebounds and 9 assists. That's a great game. But that's not what defense is about, specifically when you're Draymond Green. And Draymond Green defensively had 1 steal and 1 block. There's a lot of people out there who will look at a box score and say, how possibly could you say Draymond's DPOY? 1 block, 1 steal. Jokic was an assist away from a 30-point triple-double. What did you do, Draymond? And that's not who Draymond is. If you're a trained basketball eye, and I'm speaking to Warrior fans out there right now, I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. Draymond is the defender that does so much more than just defend his matchup. He defends almost everybody on the floor at once, and he's so good. He is like a defensive basketball genius that he sees plays before they happen. He sees what opponents are trying to do, and he either goes out there and shuts it down himself or says, hey, Looney, or hey, Moody, or hey, whoever, Jimmy. Jimmy's pretty good at it himself as well, so he might not be directing Jimmy as much, but he will go and see what's happening before it happens, and he will stymie that plan. And if you're not really sure what you're looking for, you just see, a Denver team dribbling along the perimeter trying to get into an action, and for whatever reason, they didn't execute it well, and they have to reset. Okay, and then maybe ultimately they get into the paint and they have to rush a shot because what they were trying to do didn't work, and they miss it off the rim. Draymond might not even get the defensive rebound. Did Draymond get any statistics for that play? No. But he was the reason why what Denver or whoever the opponent was trying to do did not work. Draymond Green is a defensive savant, and at age 35, he has really summoned that greatness at an incredibly high level consistently of late, and it's a big reason why the Warriors have now won 5 consecutive games. And how about this? The Warriors are now 14-0 with the starting lineup that started tonight, which is Curry, Podziemski, Butler, Moody, and Green. That 5, when they start a game, the Warriors are 14-0. They have not lost, and that is approaching NBA record historic numbers. If the Warriors are undefeated with that starting group at the end of the regular season, it will be the first time the Warriors, or first time in NBA history, a unit has that many wins without a loss in a season. 14-0 with that starting group. Curry, Podziemski, Moody, Butler, Draymond. Since Jimmy Butler debuted, the Warriors are 21-5. In games in which Jimmy Butler plays, the Warriors are 21-4. I will take it one step further. When Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler play together, the Warriors are 20-2. 20-2 when Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler play. But I can already hear what maybe some Warriors doubters out there are going to say. It's, well, congrats, you beat Denver, but no Jamal Murray. Congrats, you beat the Bucks way back when without Giannis. Congrats, you beat so-and-so when so-and-so was out. The Warriors are an elite basketball team when they have their pieces there. It does not matter who they're playing. If Steph and Jimmy Butler are playing basketball, the Warriors rarely lose.